Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Drafted Up Podcast. You can find us over on Twitter /X at @DraftedUp_pod, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. Today, we're finishing our fantasy football rankings with our onesie positions, our QB ones and our tight end ones. If you're interested in checking out our top running back or wide receiver rankings, go check out the previous episodes wherever you listen or watch. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great. Just itching already to get back to NCAA. So you're lucky you got me here.
Yeah, I know. I know you're real revved up to talk about tight ends.
Oh yes, I'm thrilled. First thing when we first got into this lobby, I'm like, how many tight ends are we talking about? And you broke my heart when you said 12. So
hey, I could have been like, let's talk about the two players that missed out who were bigger name tight ends in Dallas Goedert and Cole Kmet, but I'm saving to that.
Appreciate it.
Hey, you don't want to talk about like Pat Freiermuth?
I mean, new offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. That guy loves using tight ends. So yeah, Freiermuth a decent grab in the late rounds. Goddard is Philly's offense, so also a good grab. And Chicago's offense is fun to watch. Those are the input for those guys.
I'll give you opposite. I don't ever want Dallas Goedert. He never reaches his draft position.
Oh, I agree.
I'm
saying if I punt the tight end position, and he happens to be there in the late rounds with all these schmucks, I'll bank on Philly's offense. That's what I'm banking on, is Philly's offense, not him.
I got you. How's NCAA going before we dive on in?
Oh, great, dude. Already took SMU to the Natty, won it. Got 25 committed recruits going into the next season. So, and
not
then started a little my career guy with a guy. Went to Northwestern. So,
gross. Boo.
I'm looking to transfer out after. I wanted to play my freshman year. So I wanted to play my freshman year and then transfer out afterwards.
You didn't want to take classes?
I mean, I am taking classes, but I want to do both. Yeah, no, I'm not looking to do a high school simulator or a college simulator.
I got you. I'm rocking the Minnesota Golden Gophers, baby. Struggling right now playing Michigan. They killed me, and I haven't played since then.
Truly believe that.
Tough. I love that though about the game. In this side track, real quick, like when you play like the good teams, they're tough.
They're good, dude, for sure.
Yeah. And I was playing at Michigan. Like it was.
Oh yeah.
A struggle.
My first experience with like a good team was Oklahoma in like the quarterfinals of the Natty playoffs, and playing Oklahoma was a lot rougher than I could imagine. It was a lot closer than I thought.
Yeah, but you got one of the next gen systems. Definitely get college football 25
for sure. It's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk number 12 on our tight ends. This guy just missed college football 25. He is a rookie coming into the NFL, highly recruited, highly touted. Brock Bowers of the Las Vegas Raiders, top 10, almost top 10 pick. He won 11, I think.
12. Right on the outside of the top 10.
Fringe, right outside the top 10. Highly touted, like we said. You've heard us talk about him in the Couch Scouts and the draft season about how good Brock Bowers was. He ends up in Las Vegas. You had him at tight end 11. I'm a little bit lower on him. I had him at tight end 16. We're both lower on him than his current ADP. He's going as the tight end 9 right now in the mid 7th. How you feel about Brock?
I love Brock Bowers. Don't get me wrong. But the whole Vegas thing's kind of iffy. But if I could get him a round or two later than where he's going, I'm 100% in. It's kind of like where you are with Devontae Adams. With Brock Bowers. If I can get him a little bit later, because at that point I punted the tight end position, and if I can get Brock Bowers, who is an elite prospect coming into the NFL, I would take my chances with him playing the waiver game after 3 weeks than some of these other. But rookie tight ends, I really don't trust rookie tight ends. And that might sound ridiculous because last year a rookie tight end finished tight end 1 with Sam Laporta. But again,
that's an outlier though.
I'm not going to bank on that. So I would rather a guy that I could trust more, who we're going to talk about in the next few spots, come like tight end 11, 12. I'm cool taking Brock Bowers. But tight end 9, that's too rich for me.
Yeah, the upside's there for sure, but rookie tight ends like Laporta, real outlier season last year. They usually don't produce at a high rate, so he's getting that boost, being highly touted. I just don't trust the Vegas offense in general, so I don't really want parts of that passing game where they're currently going. But Bowers, he has the benefit. He's probably going to play a little bit of receiver there, because they also have Michael Mayer. I see the intrigue, and I'm with you. If he was going in like the 8th or ninth round, I'd probably be way more in on Brock Bowers. But at his current ADP, just like Devontae Adams, I don't want to touch it. I like more options there.
Yeah. See, we've talked about Adams, so I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I would like a guy that's I know is going to get targets, who we're going to talk about in the next few spots. But again, if you get him in the 9th, take the shot. He's an elite prospect. Like you said, he's going to play receiver because of Michael Mayer, who I also love. I loved Michael Mayer coming out of college, so I hope they do run a lot of 2 tight ends in Vegas, opening up the field. It could be very interesting. Brock Bowers' pathway to a top 12 tight end, it's definitely there. More so than guys like Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Freiermuth Goddard.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry.
I see him lining up in the slot a lot in the Hunter Renfrow role.
Very hard to say.
Yeah. So with Jacoby Myers and Devontae on the outside. So we'll see. We'll get into Vegas. We're going to be doing our divisional previews coming up here shortly. On the number 11, it's TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings. Last season, Hawkinson finished as the tight end 4. He played in 15 games, had 95 receptions on 127 targets, 960 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He averaged 14.6 points per game in PPR, which was tied for first amongst tight ends. He's currently going mid-late 9th. You have him at 12. I have him at 11. And it really comes down to Hawkinson likely starting the year on PUP after dreaded knee injury, courtesy of a dirty hit from Kirby Joseph of the Detroit Lions, putting Hawkinson, tearing up his ACL. So where do you think Hawkinson ends up if we knew he was healthy going into the year? Top 5 for sure.
If he
maybe
wasn't, I would say if he wasn't hurt, it would be, I think, him and Kelsey at 1 and 2. We have Laporta lower than his ADP. Yeah, I think he's right there with all the top guys for sure. He's definitely in the top 5 for sure, if not 2. Possibly even 1, because like you said, in PPR weeks, he was the tight end 1. He had a killer season last year. Yeah, you guys have a new quarterback, so that would also counter into effect. Like Justin Jefferson's not wide receiver 1 anymore because of the quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. But a rookie tight end or Sam Darnold is going to keep checking the ball down the Hunter.
Rookie quarterback.
That's what I meant. My bad. Yeah, but TJ Hawkinson he's going to be a great target whenever he comes back. You just don't know when it's going to be. Once you kind of get a number on that, if it's going to be the PUP list, he misses the first 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's a 4. I think it's 4 to 6.
4 to 6
start.
Okay, and then at that point you're looking at you start a tight end every week. You don't have to. You start him every week. You don't have to look back.
So you'll likely see his ADP fluctuate too once we get like word officially on like what's going on with TJ Hawkinson. Right now he's going in the 9th round. I don't mind taking him there. He's like my favorite. Like if I punt the position, I can get him. I can stash him on PUP and stash him on IR in our league, and then just plug and play a tight end.
Yeah, until he comes
back. Like I don't necessarily like that idea because like he could come back and struggle based off his injury, and then I'm just down tight end all year. But if he doesn't, you're getting an elite producer at the position late in the rounds. So like I like it there. I think Darnold or McCarthy, depending on who's playing when Hawk comes back, is beneficial for them. Like Hawkinson's an elite target regardless. Yeah. And he'll be the number 2 target getter on the team when he's back. It'll be him and Jefferson, and then Addison will be later. He'll be the 3rd target in the offense there. But I like Hawkinson mid-late 9th. I like the upside of like getting him if I do punt the position, but it does worry me coming off a serious knee injury like he had.
Yeah, if he can come back and even if he comes back, it's like 70% of him. He's still going to finish in this range of tight ends. And that's a guy that you're going to be happy in the playoff runs. Because at that point, he should be a little bit more healthy. Come week 10, 11, 12, the weeks you're really pushing for the playoffs. And if you can get him in the 9th, 10th round, put him on your IR, and then just kind of start guys throughout the weeks, I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right, number 10 on our list is Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. Last season, Fergie finished as the tight end 9, averaging 10.4 points per game. Played all 17 games, had 71 receptions on 102 targets, 761 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's currently going as the tight end 11. In the early 8th, we both have him at tight end 10. Dak Prescott loves his tight ends. 5 touchdowns is a surprising number to see considering how much he was targeted in the red zone.
Yeah.
So there could be a positive regression for Jake Ferguson this year in the tight end department. I'm in on him. He's one of my favorite. Like, if I punt the position, he's the guy I actually usually look for. I think really highly of the Cowboys offense. They don't really have an option outside of CeeDee Lamb. Like, Brandon Cooks is okay, but like after Brandon Cooks at the receiving, you got Jalen Tolbert, Urban. Like, it's a bunch of like who's who guys. Like, Jake Ferguson is going to play a heavy role and likely be the second target getter in this offense as well, just like Hockenson does in Minnesota when healthy.
Even the running backs aren't going to take too many targets from the tight end position and the running back for checkdowns. Zeke will get what he gets, and so will Rico. But yeah, Jake Ferguson's for sure going to get his 100 targets this year. I don't see how that goes down. I think it only goes up, to be honest. And I think if he gets a little bit more than 5 touchdowns, you're looking at a tight end that could break the top 8-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So his upside, you're really drafting him at his 4 pretty much.
I agree.
Which is a thing we always look for, especially a tight end position, because I'm not trying to reach on a tight end if necessary. So if I can get a guy at his 4 that can really break into the top 8, 6-ish, pull the trigger.
Yeah. Jake Ferguson, he falls under, we brought it up in the running back receiver episode. He's one of those real boring guys.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, for sure.
You're not going to be excited about having Jake Ferguson, but you're going to be content with the 10 to 15 points he gets you every week.
Yeah.
At a position that it's sometimes really hard to find a steady option at.
Yeah. He's so safe, and that's what you're looking for. I'm pretty sure the next guy we're talking about, his career has not been safe. It has been very much all over the place. So last year is very beneficial, though.
Yeah, and that is David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. He's our tight end 9. He's currently going as the tight end 10 in the early 8th. Last season, Njoku played 16 games. He had 81 receptions on 123 targets, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Finished as the tight end 6, 12.6 points per game. We both have him as our tight end 9. A little bit more risky than Jake Ferguson. When Deshaun Watson was in, David Njoku was almost irrelevant in this offense.
Mm-hmm.
When Watson got hurt, and we
Yeah.
had Flacco and PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson Robinson, Njoku thrived. Now, I think Kevin Stefanski is a really good coach. He won Coach of the Year for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think he'll see what like Njoku provided to this offense alongside Amari Cooper, and I think he'll force the offense to run through those two guys with Watson in. Like, that's the most beneficial way for this team to win games in the passing game. I get they brought in Jerry Jeudy. He's fine. Elijah Moore's balls, cheeks, trash, like the worst receiver in football. Get him off the roster. He's just holding everybody back. They were going to play Jeudy in the slot, so I don't even think Elijah Moore has much of a role there this year, because I think Cedric Tillman's going to be the other outside guy.
Tillman, from what I hear, is definitely going to be the number 2 in that offense with Jeudy in the slot.
Yeah.
So Tillman on the outside could be very fun to watch this year. So,
but Njoku should be the second option in the passing game behind Amari Cooper, and we don't know what's going on in the run game with Nick Chubb. So I think Cleveland's going to open it up a little bit more, throw the ball a lot more than they usually do until like they ease Jerome Ford or Deonta Foreman until Chubb gets back. So like, I think based off last year's success, Kevin Stefanski is going to make Njoku a forced touch guy. At least I hope he does. And it's not back to the where you got to count on Njoku to have a boom game here and there to be relevant in your team.
Yeah. What I got out of Njoku in the back end of the season last year was amazing. Was picture perfect for tight end, and it scares the hell out of me that Watson's back. I hate that Watson's their quarterback just based off of what Njoku did with Watson. That bugs the shit out of me. But how are you not going to look at what he did outside of that and be like, we're just not going to give him the ball? It doesn't make sense to me. He was literally the offense last year, and he was so productive, dude. And the team thrived through him. He had that like severe burn, that on his face.
Crazy.
And he just put a mask on and then still suited up. Like, the team rallied around him. He's a dog, dude. And it would truly break my heart if he just didn't have the season he did last season. I've been high on Njoku ever since he came out. So it's been a struggle to back this guy every season. And to finally see it pay off last season, it made me very happy. So fucking Watson, go out there and get this guy the ball. Stefanski knows what to do. It doesn't make sense that he would fall, but I get the worry with Watson as quarterback. Just bring back fucking Joe Flacco, dude. I'm no Flacco supporter, but he should be that team starting.
Joe Flacco really made that offense so
Crazy,
fantasy
dude.
relevant. Yeah. Like, it was wild. I want to get that stretch for Njoku. The last 4 games of the year, 27.1, 26.4, 16.4, 17.4. That's your last week of the regular season, your 3 fantasy playoff weeks. And this dude thrived. The rest of the year, kind of shaky. 3, 11, 12, 11, 12, 17, 10. Those are great run, like steady numbers. 5, 10, 6, 6, 4. Those are your Watson numbers at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, Njoku, it's a touch and go situation, but like I said, I trust Kevin Stefanski to, force utilization of David Njoku into this offense.
I agree. I definitely agree. It'd break my heart, though, if it doesn't.
Number 8, George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. He is our tight end 7 for both of us and somehow falls here to the 8 spot. We got our Kenneth Walker situation from last year, so hopefully the audio doesn't cut out here. Last season, George Kittle played 16 games. He had 65 receptions on 90 targets, 1,020 yards, 6 touchdowns, finished as the tight end 5, 12.7 points per game, currently going as the tight end 7 in the 6th round.
He's also a guy that's almost going at his floor. When he plays a full season, his floor is 5. He finishes 5, 3, 4, 20. He only played 8 games. 2, 3, 20. Again, that was his rookie year, though. So his one outlier was the season he got hurt. He played 8 games, finished tight end 20. His floor, though, is 5, and he's going at 7.
Yeah, so
he's worth it. He's a guy that you should go out there and target, and he has those very boom games because he plays in San Fran. So there's going to be games where he doesn't get the shine, but then there's games he has 3 touchdowns. If you watch the receiver documentary on Netflix, you really see that happen because there's games where he has 2, 3 touchdowns, and then there's games he has 2 catches. So it's the complete opposite. But throughout the season, he plays. He's consistent. George Kittle's the guy that you really want, though, at his 4.
Yeah, so usually I'm out on Kittle because he's usually going is your top 3 tight ends. Like, you're drafting him at his ceiling almost every year. He's going in the 3rd, 4th round. Now he's fallen back a bit, and I'm now in on George Kittle. I don't mind the big boom games because, like, if he gets you 6 points, like, it's not going to hurt you too much at that position because, like, it's a relatively weak position to begin with. But 20 to 30 points from your tight end is going to win you a week. Every week.
For sure. Yeah.
And, like, such a big play guy, too. Like, 65 catches, 1,020 yards. Like,
it's George Pickens numbers, dude.
Yeah.
And he's a tight end.
George Kittle might be the best tight end in real football when you put everything together in terms of blocking ability, offensive playmaking ability. Like, he does it all, and he doesn't care. Like, he loves that part of the game. So, like, George Kittle's a really fun player to watch. He is a little bit frustrating in fantasy, but in the early 6 at tight end 7, I'm buying George Kittle. Like, getting Kittle and Purdy is kind of one of my favorite stacks to do in, like, mocks. So, like, if I do target a Niners offensive weapons, usually Kittle, because I like that we're getting him at his floor, and then I can get Purdy a few rounds later. But I'm in on George Kittle, tight end 8 for us. We both had him at 7, which was on par with his ADP, but you're getting him at his floor, and his big play abilities may be better than every tight end in the league, sans like 2 or 3.
I agree. When I was statting him out, I went back to look at his stats. I'm like, he had 90 targets, not receptions, targets, and had 1,000 yards. And I'm like, that's insane. And I had to double check it, and I was truly blown away. He's a real athlete. He's a dog, dude. I love watching Kittle. But like you said, I'm usually out on Kittle as well because he's going tight end 2, 3, 4. He's going tight end 7 this year, so I find myself in this year.
I agree. Our tight end 7 is Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have him at tight end 5. You have him as your tight end 6. He's currently going as the tight end 8, so we're a little bit higher on him than ADP. Going in the late 6. Last season, Ingram played all 17 games, had 114 catches on 143 targets, 963 yards, 4 touchdowns, finished as the tight end 2, averaging 13.5 points per game. He was like 2 catches away from the tight end record for receptions in a season. Jacksonville has a ton of vacated targets. coming in with Calvin Ridley leaving. I think they could all go to Evan Ingram.
Them bringing in Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round, and then also Gabe Davis on a huge contract, which still is very interesting. So the targets are going to be spread out a little bit, but in PPR,
those guys
his targets
are
are
target
safe.
getters.
Well, yeah, but I'm
They're
saying
big play guys.
his targets from where they are last year they're safe. I don't know how much they're going to go up, but his targets last year are locked in. So he finished in PPR tight end 2. I think that's why we're a little bit higher on Ingram, because we play PPR mostly. So in our eyes, Ingram's going to get 100 catches, and that's 100 free points. So in PPR, he's such a good get, dude. Like, I love Evan Ingram. I love the way that Jacksonville uses him. I honestly love to see this guy shine as an ex-Giants fan. It doesn't make our team look crazy drafting this guy in the first round. His rookie season, he finished tight end 5 with us, and then he had crazy injury prone after that, and now he's finally shining, and it's very fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Doug Peterson tight ends always produce in fantasy football
every year.
I know we were a little worried because they drafted a tight end in the second round in 2022, Brandon Strange, but that dude barely saw the field, and if he did, it was just blocking packages for
that's what he is.
So Evan Ingram's still going to be the guy there. He's at 4 touchdowns. You want to say that positively regresses, but he's just not a touchdown guy. Like, I think 5's probably his ceiling. So Evan Ingram is going to be reception dependent. So he's a really valuable PPR, half PPR guy in standard leagues. Evan Ingram, if you're playing standard leagues, I'm sorry that you have to live through that. But Evan Ingram, not really a guy because he's not going to get you touchdowns. But you don't have to worry about the targets not going his way. He's still going to get his share of targets. Like Jacksonville, I love Brian Thomas Jr., not really a target guy, big play guy. Gabe Davis, same thing. Christian Kirk, safe guy. He's going to get his 100+ targets. And then it's Evan Ingram in the passing game. And I'm in on the Jacksonville offense this year. Like, I want some sort of piece of it, whether it's ETN, Ingram, Kirk, or Brian Thomas Jr., or even Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence is going crazy late. A little interesting fact, I was looking at my last year quarterback rankings to compare him to this year. I had Trevor Lawrence ranked 3 going into last season.
Everyone was hyped in, and now they're not.
Bit me in the ass. So
classic case of fantasy football. But yeah, Evan Ingram, we're both higher on PPR is our preferred method. I love just sitting back and waiting for Evan Ingram to fall to me. Like, I'm so content on just taking Evan Ingram in the 6th, 7th round.
Let the people battle over the top 4 or 5 tight ends, and then I'll take Evan Ingram, who's going to get 100 catches. So
yeah, like I've found myself trying to get one of the top guys, but if I miss out, Evan Ingram is usually my fallback.
Heard that about Brock Bowers and Jake Ferguson, and
that's what you got to do in the tight end position. That's what you got to do. If you miss out on the top guys, number 6 is my favorite tight end target in our list, and that's Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. Last season, McBride played 17 games, had 81 receptions on 106 targets, 825 yards, 3 touchdowns, finished as the tight end 7 with 10.2 points per game in fantasy. He's currently going as the tight end 3, mid-4th round, so we're a little bit lower on him, and as in we, I mean you. I have him as my tight end 3. He is your tight end 8. What's your beef with Trey McBride, brother?
It's not really that beef. I just see him a little bit better than where he finished last year. He was tight end 7 last year, so I think he's going to be around there. So around 8. It's no beef. I have him with almost 1,000 yards. I don't think he's going to be a huge touchdown guy in Arizona.
So you have him in an Evan Ingram situation.
Yeah, but he's not going to get 100 catches. So I'm looking at if I can take the 100 catches with him and Ingram, Evan Ingram's going to get the 100 catches. I don't think Trey McBride's going to. So I think that's a big hit to where Evan Ingram shines in PPR leagues. Trey McBride, I think, is going to be around 80 catches. So that's 20 less points. And I think they're going to be around the same touchdowns and around the same yards. So I would personally rather Evan Ingram. But I see the appeal of Trey McBride, that in Arizona's offense, it's him and Marvin Harrison and nothing really else. I personally like Michael Wilson, the second-year receiver going into this year. I think he's going to have a decent year in Arizona. It's no real beef. I just like the guys that I have ahead of him a little bit more.
I
Who-
got you.
The next guy specifically that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's almost the same ranking situation.
Yeah.
The next guy. I think the touchdowns go up. I think he's going to get 6 touchdowns this year.
He could.
And
He
I
could.
think
I'm not
it's-
saying he. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a positive regression for touchdowns for Trey McBride. Things are going to be a little bit more open for him because Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, and you guys know how I feel about him. He's in my top 10 receivers. I think that's just going to open up for a more successful season for Trey McBride. I'm on par with his ADP at tight end 3. I'm very comfortable taking him in the 4th round. He is my favorite tight end to target. I just think Trey McBride's going to have a big year this year. Like, I think come time to readjust my rankings, he might end up being my tight end.
That's not a bad take. Yeah, the guys I have above him being Kittle, Ingram, Laporta, Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts, and Kelsey. I just trust those guys a little bit more. One of those guys is definitely
Pitts. That what a crazy.
I was just about to say one of those guys is a hot take, and I admit to that. I'm
Kyle
looking
Pitts
at
is
that.
next on our list. He's number.
I have him as my tight end too.
He's my tight end 8.
I 100% in on Kyle Pitts when he came out, and that take has not changed. I'm looking at him as TJ Hawkinson. He's more athletic. He's getting Kirk Cousins. I think him and Drake London are going to shine in this new offense down in Atlanta. And it's almost me just pushing my chips in. I'm willing to bet on Kyle Pitts. He was a freak athlete coming out. He was a top 10 pick. You've seen it his rookie year. He had 1,000 yards. I'm confident he's going to have 1,000 yards again.
Yeah. So Kyle Pitts is currently going as the tight end 6, mid to late 5th round. He played all 17 games. He had 53 catches on 90 targets, 667 yards, 3 touchdowns. He finished as tight end 13, 8.1 points per game in fantasy. But new system, Arthur Smith's out of there. Arthur Smith, for whatever reason, didn't like Kyle Pitts. He'd rather use frickin' Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle Pitts is a guy who's done fantasy dirty. But if you were in on Kyle Pitts last year, you should be in on Kyle Pitts this year. He's going in the same range as he was last season.
Mhm.
And he's got a hypothetical upgrade at quarterback. Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles injury, so that could blow up a little bit. But Nick and I love Michael Penix, where we think it's not going to fall off too much. And I'd rather Michael Penix than Desmond Ridder any day of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
These were bad targets last year. And I'm more in on banking on Kyle Pitts in Atlanta than I am Drake London.
That's ADP problem. I don't like Drake London's ADP in the 2nd round. It's terrifying. Where Kyle Pitts, I look at them guys as equals. And for me to get Kyle Pitts in the 6th, where Drake London is going in the 2nd, I'm looking at Kyle Pitts as a 2nd round value then. Because I think him and Drake London are almost identical.
Yeah.
And there's all these reports that they're going to play him as a receiver, as a tight end. They're going to be moving him around a ton. He's almost going to be like George Kittle in San Fran, to where Bijan's going to be McCaffrey. It's Kyle Pitts is, man, I'm in, dude. He's my guy for sure.
Yeah, I'm more in on Pitts than I am Drake London.
Yeah.
It's just like a tight end 8, and I'm comfortable taking Pitts too, but I just prefer, it does worry me that Kyle Pitts just ends up that rookie year was an outlier, and he just doesn't.
Oh,
he
yeah,
just
for
does
sure.
what he does. 50 catches, 600 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The guy's never
Don't
had.
get me wrong.
That was a career high. 3 touchdowns.
Don't get me wrong. I have him ranked 2. I would not take him over the big 5 guys, 6 guys even. But I like that I can get him tight end 7, 8 sometimes. Where I think his ceilings obviously tight end 1, 2, 3 around there.
In home leagues, you're going to have those people who have had Kyle Pitts the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're going to be I don't want any part of that dude.
His rookie year, he finished tight end 6.
Yeah.
He had a good year.
Yeah, but chances are the person, a lot of home leagues, if they had Kyle Pitts his rookie year, they took him his 2nd year, and he shit the bed.
Yeah,
hit 300 yards or some shit. Kyle Pitts wasn't healthy last year either. I think that's a thing we got to talk about. He looked like he was running like me out there. He was slow as dirt, and we know this dude ain't slow. He's an incredible athlete. So I think the year is going to be healthy. They're going to move him around. They're going to utilize him. I do like Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has tight end 1 upside.
Mm-hmm.
He's also got tight end 15 downside.
Exactly. And I've been on Kyle Pitts since college, so I've been there the whole time. And obviously I'm not shying away now with Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm
If you've
100%
been in on Kyle Pitts, you stay in on Kyle Pitts because this is the best situation he's been in since coming into the league.
100%. And I'm willing to say it's going to pay off.
Number 4 for us is Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. He is going as tight end 4 currently in the late 4th. I have him as tight end 6. You have him as tight end 4 last season. Mark Andrews, 10 games, 45 receptions on 65 targets, 544 yards, 6 touchdowns. He finished as tight end 15, but 13.5 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
A healthy Mark Andrews is Lamar Jackson's favorite target. I know we as football fans and fantasy lovers, we want to, Baltimore, we want to hype up a Baltimore receiver, whether it's Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman before that. We've always wanted to make a Baltimore receiver a thing, and it just never happens. It's always just Mark Andrews.
Even Odell, when he was there that one year, it's Mark Andrews. And when healthy, it's Mark Andrews. And it actually bugs me that I'm saying when healthy. The guy's played 10 games, 15, 17, 14, 15, 16. He doesn't really miss too many games. He misses a game or two here and there. But other than that, when he's healthy, he finished tight end 4, 1, 6, 5. So his 4 is 6, his ceiling's 1. That's his range.
Yep.
Somehow he almost falls into that it's boring category.
I was going to say he's the elite version of like Jake Ferguson.
Yeah. I don't know how that like even me sitting here, I'm like, ugh, Mark Andrews, whatever. But he's such a good get and he's such a safe guy. Like 3 seasons ago, he was tight end 1, and that's not going to change if he's healthy.
He's one of those rare tight ends who's the first read in the offense.
Yeah. Him and Kelsey
you want those
like,
guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to have an elite quarterback too, it falls into the Philly thing. It's a great offense. Baltimore's always good. They always produce. They know what they're doing in Baltimore. It's a great culture. You want to tie yourself to it somehow.
Yeah. If you want a piece of the Baltimore receiving game, go for Mark Andrews. Don't be like, I'm going to sit and wait for Zay Flowers, because it could work off. I like Zay Flowers. I think he's more of a real life football player than a fantasy guy. I think Zay Flowers is a wide receiver 3 in fantasy football, and he's a safe wide receiver 3, but I don't think he has wide receiver 1 upside. Mark Andrews has tight end 1 upside with very minimal downside.
Yeah, for sure. His range is very small, of 6 to 1, so he's finishing almost top 5 if he's healthy.
Yeah. Number 3, the rookie sensation from last year, Sam Laporta of the Detroit Lions. Laporta is currently going as tight end 1 in the late 2nd round. Last season, 17 games, 86 catches on 120 targets, 889 yards, 10 touchdowns. Finished as tight end 1, 14.1 points per game in PPR. I'm in on Laporta. I think Detroit's offense is really good. He is my tight end 1. I don't like him in the 2nd round. Like, I think you're drafting him at his ceiling compared to like the guys around him. Like, obviously you're drafting him at his ceiling if he's going tight end 1, but like in terms of who's going around him, like Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, those guys, like I'd rather put my chips in those guys because I think they're going to score more points than Laporta, because 10 touchdowns does worry me. Like, that's a hard stat to continue on to. Like, he could be a guy who falls to like 7 touchdowns and he'll be fine then.
Mm-hmm.
But like, again, not the first read in the offense. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown's receiving game, and then it's Sam Laporta. And you also have the emergence of Jameson Williams. I'm not in on it. You
also have Gibbs on the backfield.
Yeah, but I do like Laporta. If I could get him mid-3rd, then I'm looking his way. I'm looking at Sam Laporta slightly later than where he's going. Tight end 1, if you want to shoot your shot on getting a guy in Detroit and get Laporta, I get it. Like, he was great last year.
He's my tight end 5, so I'm out just based off his ADP. 10 touchdowns is hard, dude. He didn't even have 900 yards, which is that's fine, but the 10 touchdowns did not have 900 yards. I think his touchdowns are going to decrease to at least like 8-ish. So hopefully his yards go up. If not, he's not going to be tight end 1. So I'm not willing to draft him tight end 1 or even 2. I would rather take the shot at Kelsey or Andrews to be safe. Draft Pitts later. There's just other options that I would rather pull the trigger on than Laporta.
So are you more in, like, do you see the statistical decline essentially? Like, so do you see Jameson Williams taking the step to be fantasy relevant this year?
Yes. I'm very in on Jameson Williams in like the 9th or 10th round. I think he's going to emerge to be that big play receiver he was at Alabama. I'm really in on Williams. I think he's going to have a really good year.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd be willing to take the longer shot on like betting odds to have him as 10 touchdowns than Laporta at 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's really what it comes to how you view Detroit's offense going forward, like stepping forward with Jameson Williams. I don't see it happening. I still think Sam Laporta is going to be the second target getter in this offense and produce.
I think he's going to have more targets than Jameson Williams. I'm not saying that, but I think Williams has a better chance to outscore him on touchdowns, which is going to really eat into Laporta's fantasy numbers.
So if Laporta does this again next year, 80 for 810, how do you see him going forward then? Are you then just locking in like that's his? Does he enter the Gronk territory then, where like you're taking him in the first round?
No,
you still don't.
No, because there's guys that like we have this guy up next that I think I would take if like how does his season pan out? How does Kyle Pitts? It's all how these other guys also play out.
But even if Laporta does it 2 years in a row, 80, 80, and 10, again, you still aren't putting him into the top tight end?
No, because I think there's going to be tight ends that have 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, which is going to outscore 80 and yeah.
All right. Next up is Dalton Kincaid, number 2. This is a hot take on both of our parts.
Yeah.
Of the Buffalo Bills, I have him as my tight end 2. You have him as your tight end 3. You normally don't like statting guys out at their ceiling. And I think I did that in this case here with Kincaid, who's going as the tight end 5 in the early 5th. Last season, Kincaid, 16 games, 73 catches on 91 targets, 673 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Finished as the tight end 11, 9.4 points per game in fantasy. When Dawson Knox got hurt and wasn't playing, Kincaid went on a tear. 15, 17, 16, 16, 10. Great run. Super valuable for you in fantasy football. When Dawson Knox was in, though, it does worry me because it was more of a split. Like Dawson Knox got his share. Now, whether that goes forward this year or we see Kincaid take the bigger leap because Buffalo has the most vacated targets in football. They got rid of Steph Diggs. They got rid of Gabe Davis. So there's like 80% of their target share from last year is gone. So like, and that's where I'm buying in on the Kincaid. Like, I think he's going to be more of the receiver essentially. Like, I think he's going to line up a lot in the slot or on the outside with Dawson Knox still playing. And I think Kincaid's in for a huge year. Like, you want to find Josh Allen's top weapon. I think it's Dalton Kincaid, and I assume you also agree.
It's not even close in my eyes that like his weapon wise, it's going to be Kincaid. I personally don't trust the 3 receivers. If you want to take your shot on one of them, sure. I love Keon Coleman. He's a rookie. Camp reports he's struggling to learn all the systems and the routes.
I trust Curtis Samuel.
But what's the point to have him on your bench all season? He's not going to be a reliable starter.
I think he could be a good flex.
Maybe in full PPR, but even then it's still pushing it. Like I would rather bank on guys like Jameson Williams that have a chance to be. I don't think Curtis Samuel's ceiling is higher than his floor. I think it's around the same range.
No, but I think his current ADP, I would bank that he beats it. He's going as like the 5th receiver.
I'm not saying he's not. Someone has to in that offense. All 3 of the receivers are going outside of the top 45. All 3 of them, being Coleman, Samuel, and Khalil. I can't say that guy's name.
Khalil Shakir.
All of them are going out of the top 40. So one of them's, there's a good chance 2 of them finish higher than 45, but they're not going to be higher than 35, I don't think. So it's such a small gap that I'm not even really taking the chance. It's not worth it in my eyes to where I can get Dalton Kincaid later than the big 5, 6 tight ends. And I'm all in on Kincaid. He's going to eat up the targets in Buffalo. I
We're
think
both
him and
in
Cook,
agreement. Kincaid is the guy you want in the receiving game.
Oh, for sure. I think him and Cook are going to really be eating up points in Buffalo. I think Cook's going to have a really good year, too.
I'll quick bring this up for Curtis Samuel. His 1 year with Joe Brady, who's Buffalo's offensive coordinator currently, Curtis Samuel finished as wide receiver 24 in PPR scoring. So that's where I'm more in on Curtis. Like, I think Curtis Samuel is the option you want. Sans King. If you miss out on Dalton Kincaid, I think Curtis Samuel's the guy you're going to want. He's a veteran. He's going to be the guy they're going to trust in the receiving game. He's going to be out of the slot.
He's going to finish with more points than Keon Coleman, but I would rather take my chance on Keon Coleman.
You want the upside guy, especially where they're going. Like, I get it.
Yeah, there's a
But-
chance that Keon Coleman is a combination of Gabe Davis and Steph Diggs just right off his rookie year, where he's like a big play, but he's also eating targets up. So I would rather that chance compared to Curtis Samuel's safety pick.
Dalton Kincaid is the guy you want though in the receiving game,
for sure.
and
For sure.
like last year, if Sam Laporta didn't exist last year, we would have been like Dalton Kincaid had a really good rookie season, but Sam Laporta did the 86 for 8, 89, and 10.
Yeah.
Where you just look at Kincaid, like I was surprised when I looked at Kincaid's number, like wow, he had 673 yards and 90 targets. Because like he was just so under the radar. Like I get he was the higher touted guy. He was drafted in the first round, but like Laporta's year was such an outlier and so good. Like Dalton Kincaid became like non-existent essentially.
I agree. I actually thought he had more yards just because I had him in a couple weeks and I knew how good he was. So I thought he was closer to like Sam Laporta's stats, to be honest, yard wise. So it actually blew my mind that he didn't even have 700 yards. But he had a great season.
2 touchdowns, I think. Like that goes up.
It's going to skyrocket, yeah.
And I think that's where we're banking on him taking the big leap here. Number 1, tight end. It's the boring one. That's Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's Nick's tight end 1. He's my tight end 4. He's currently going as tight end 2 in the early third. Last season, Kelce, 15 games, 93 receptions on 121 yards, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Finished as the tight end 3. Was tied for first in points per game, though, with TJ Hawkinson at 14.6. My worry with Kelce is the Chiefs saving him for the playoffs.
Understandable.
Yeah,
but
because like Kelsey's getting older, and they drafted Xavier Worthy. We don't know what's going on with Rashee Rice. Like Rashee Rice might play the whole year, and then they brought in Hollywood Brown. Like they're bringing in weapons. Isaiah Pacheco, we think very highly of him as well. Like we think he's going to be more involved in the passing game. So like my worry is like they kind of just phase Kelce out a bit, where he's just a really productive real life player. And then save him for when it matters and make another playoff run because it's Kansas City. That's my fear with Kelce.
I see that fear, but I don't think that's going to happen because I don't trust Worthy. I don't trust Hollywood. And I think Rashee Rice is going to end up being suspended at least 4 games. So in my eyes, 2 of those 3 guys aren't going to pan out. So who you throwing the ball to? Your favorite target. It's going to be Kelce. Like Mahomes, I just trust Kelce. They're going to have to start the season hot to get the wins. I just love Kelce. He's so safe. I would just bank on him being in the top 3 regardless. So I would rather just take him as my tight end 1.
Yeah, Travis, the track record's there. He's tight end 1 like almost every year, except last year he was tight end 2. So like I get it. Like he was going in the first round for a reason in redraft leagues the last few years. My worry is age. Like he didn't look as good as he did last year. He was a little banged up. So we'll see how health plays a part into it this year. But in the early third, I'd rather just sit back and wait on Trey McBride around later and Mark.
I get that. I think him not looking his best, I think he's the guy that's going to come back and make sure he looks his best this year. And that's kind of what I'm banking on is him caring about how he is. It's kind of how he cares about his ego.
Mm-hmm.
So him finishing tight end 3 in PPR last year is unacceptable. If I was him, I'd be like, that's not going to happen again. I'm going to make sure I go out there and I'm fucking tight end 1. It's not even going to be close. Like I would not bat an eye if we're talking about Kelce last year and he fucking 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. And we're like, oh yeah, Kelce came out and he's like, you guys remember me?
But is there also a chance that Kansas City's offense just kind of goes the way it did last year and Patrick Mahomes has just an okay year? He finished as like QB 8 and they become a more, balanced team. I know like they want to open up the playbook more. So like I expect them to, but there's a world where like they just can't open up, whether it's Xavier Worthy's not good or Hollywood Brown's washed up.
You got it right. Both of those guys aren't good. You just kind of combined them into one terrible receiver. But I think they're both not good, but Mahomes is so good that they're going to be fine. Worthy's going to have those crazy plays. He's going to get open because he's so fast. It is what it is. Hollywood's going to get what Hollywood does whenever he plays. If he play, I can't trust that guy.
I would more put my chips in Worthy. I kind of like Worthy with upside. Like I think Hollywood Brown is going to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling there. He's going to just be on the field. I don't want any share of Hollywood Brown.
I think
he's cooked. I
look at Hollywood Brown like the Grinch, dude. I would not touch that dude with a 10-foot pole, dude. And that's been his career. Like, I would never draft Hollywood Brown in my, like, I
He's
just
always
can't do it.
he's always hurt. He's had
From-
one top
Yeah.
24 finish with Baltimore, and
I was
then
going
they
to say,
shipped
from
him out.
Baltimore to Arizona to now, I don't trust Hollywood.
Yeah.
Even with Mahomes, I trust Kelsey. Yeah.
There is
It
the
is
one.
what it is.
Travis
Yeah.
Kelce is, like we said with Mark Andrews, he's the first read in this offense.
Yeah, we as fantasy people, we always try to, what Kansas City receivers are going to be, and it's none of them. It's never
just
Sky
what we
Moore.
do-
It's
it's
never
what we do in
Kadarius
Baltimore.
Toney. Yeah, it's never any of them. They're all
It's always
dog
Travis
water.
Kelce.
It's Travis Kelce.
But Rashi Rice, though, if he plays
Rashee
all year,
Rice-
I want the share. He's a top 15 guy if he plays the whole season.
I'm even willing to take him right now at his ADP, just off of if he doesn't get suspended. I just got a
Yep.
top 25 receiver.
Yep.
Because you guys, but you just have to play it.
he'll be a guy who fluctuates once we get word. Like if we get word that he's not getting suspended, his ADP he's moving into the fifth round.
He's skyrocketing. Yeah,
But,
for sure.
Yeah, just like Baltimore, Travis Kelce, Kansas City, he's the option. Like we want to make a Kansas City receiver thing since Tyreek Hill left. It's still
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's game.
And
I get
exactly.
it. I just don't like him at his ADP, and I do worry about the Chiefs kind of preserving him for the stretch run.
Yeah, see, I was even more in on him being a first round pick more so than you were last year. So the way I'm looking at it is, I can now get him in the third, and I still like him as much as I did last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's great value in my eyes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to quarterbacks. Just missing our quarterback cut. This one's kind of surprising. Is Trevor Lawrence? He was our QB 13. He's currently going as the QB 17 in the
Crazy.
mid-late 11th round, and it's spiked up because of me. I'm sure I have him as my QB.
I couldn't even tell you. I have
Yeah.
him way lower than you. For
Yeah, I
sure.
think you had him at like 15.
I do have him at 15.
Yeah, because he just missed to our number 12, who's Jared Goff of the
Jared
Detroit
Goff.
Lions. Last season, Jared Goff played all 17 games, 407 completions, 4,575 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 32 carries for 21 yards, but another 2 touchdowns on the ground. Finished as QB7 in 6-point touchdown leagues, 21.7 points per game. I have him as my QB15. You have him as QB11. Currently going as QB14, mid-late 10th round.
Mhm.
If you miss out on a quarterback, Jared Goff is a safe option. Like, I never want Jared Goff to be the one quarterback on my roster, but like if I can get Jared Goff and pin him with our next guy, I'm cool with that.
I'm just very in on Detroit's
Detroit?
offense for the most part. So I'm out here getting Jared Goff, he finished QB7 last year, the 10 before
Mhm.
that. So you're not even drafting him at his floor. You're drafting him just so low beneath his floor.
It's because
It's-
Jared Goff he's
it's a-
boring.
But it's a crime, dude.
He doesn't
and then-
run. People want running quarterbacks.
I get it, but he's so safe. And then his schedule, dude. He starts with the Rams, dude. He starts
Yeah.
with a payback game, and then he gets Tampa.
Also a Cheeks defense.
Both
Another
of these games
Cheeks
are
defense.
then they're both at home. So
Yep.
like he's gonna kill it, and then he goes to Arizona. Okay, it's in Arizona. It's
Dome,
not
though.
a big deal. And then it's at home versus Seattle. Like Jared Goff's balling the first 4 weeks, and you don't even have to worry about it.
If you get Jared Goff in a dome at home or away, the dude cooks.
Yeah, and they've spent so much money on their offensive line to improve it and to keep Penny Sewell there. I'm so in on
And he got
Jared
paid.
Goff.
He got paid too.
And
He's the guy.
It's deserved. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So it's not even a worry that if he has a bad game on the road, I might lose my job to Hendon Hooker. No, sir.
Nope.
Here's $200 million. Go play next year for 4 years. I'm in on Jared Goff. I'm more so looking when I do restats. He's probably going to keep going up, to be honest. I have him at 11 right now. I'm probably going to put him at 9-ish, 10, 8, 9. So around where he finished last year, I think he could beat 7.
Yeah.
I think he could go up.
Jared Goff's a great value. And if he does happen to not hit the value, you're not going to be like, God damn, I missed on Jared Goff. Like, you're going to be like, I took my shot on a quarterback of a top 5 offense. And hey, Jared Goff just kind of leveled out to be a mid-round quarterback, like a mid-ranked in the 15s. But even then, like, Jared Goff's going to have huge boom games for you.
It's funny how I'm looking at it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Matt Stafford was in Detroit. Matt Stafford was consistently going outside of the top 12 quarterbacks, and he would constantly finish inside of the top 12. And he was such a steal in the late rounds because all of these guys are drafting quarterbacks early, and I just got Matt Stafford in the late round, and he's finishing with those guys, and that's what Jared Goff does. So I'm in on Jared Goff, dude.
Yeah. QB 11, kind of opposite of Jared Goff. This is a risky one. It's Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback of the Washington Commanders. He's currently going as the 15th quarterback, mid to late 10th round. I have him as my QB 10. You have him at 14. I was actually surprised that I ended up having him higher than you because you've been the Jaden Daniels guy in fantasy when we talk. Like, he's a guy you're always targeting. Sure. And I mentioned, like, if I punt the position and I get Jared Goff, I do want to pit him with Jaden Daniels. I want this huge upside guy in Jaden Daniels. And if he doesn't hit out, I have a great safety valve in Jared Goff, or say like Tua Tagovailoa. I think Daniels, like, I think the defense is going to be bad in Washington. The offense isn't going to be great, but they're going to have to move the ball, and it's moving through him. He's going to run. Marcus Mariota is not taking. This guy is going to be the starting quarterback from week 1. Marcus Mariota ain't cutting into this time. Jaden Daniels runs, he throws, he does everything. And I think in fantasy, you want the cheat code who could break it. Like, Jaden Daniels could be a terrible real life quarterback this year, which is likely because Washington, I'm not high on him, but he could be a really good fantasy quarterback, especially at QB 15, mid-late 10th round. Take that shot.
I am a little bit lower just off of, I would rather guys like Tua, Purdy, and Goff are the guys I have listed above him. I just trust those guys a little bit more than Daniels, but I do really like Jaden Daniels. If you're in on Anthony Richardson, you have to be on Jaden Daniels.
Agree.
Jaden Daniels throws a better ball than Anthony Richardson, and it's not even close. Like, Jaden Daniels is a legitimate quarterback compared to Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson is a little bit bothersome when it comes to actual football. I've never really supported that guy. It's the opposite with Jaden Daniels. I do really like Jaden Daniels. And if I can't get one of these, like a top 3 or 4 quarterback, I do really try to find myself getting Jaden Daniels just based off where he can finish.
His upside.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised that you had him there.
Yeah, I was surprised when I finished my statting out that Jaden Daniels is in my top 10. Like, I didn't see that coming, but I'm in on him. I love getting him in that 10th round range because, like, I'm still old school. I still punt the quarterback position. I'm never looking at the top 3 guys ever. So next up is a guy who I thought I was going to be higher on. He's our number 10 quarterback. That's Jordan Love. He is going QB 10, so we have him on par with ADP, late 7th, early 8th. He ended up being my quarterback 11, your quarterback 9. Love played all 17 games last year. He had 372 completions, 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Had another 50 carries on the ground, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns. Finished as QB 4, 23.5 points per game. A really efficient year from Jordan Love. And Green Bay's a hard team. Like, you want a piece of the offense. It's just a matter of, like, what receiver do you pick? Like, do you want to bank on Christian Watson? Do you want to play the safer route and go with Jaden Reed? Do you want to punt both those guys and wait for Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks? Do you want Josh Jacobs? I just want Jordan Love in that offense. I just want Jordan Love so I can filter it all. Because I trust Jordan Love more than I trust either the other guys around.
I agree. When I had him ranked 9th, I was actually surprised I had him that high. I'm happy I have him that high. I'm glad I have him over Richardson. The more I talk about this, Richardson's going to plummet, dude. It's going to be crazy. I really trust Jordan Love to go out there and ball based off of what he has around him. He's a legitimately good quarterback. And it's actually weird that there's such a big difference between him and Stroud in ADP when he finished with more points than Stroud. He was QB 5 where Stroud was QB 11. And it's very weird how that's fluctuating because I think they're going to finish around the same, and you're getting Jordan Love way later than CJ Stroud.
I think it's more from the Stroud standpoint is that Houston went out and brought in all these guys. They brought in Steph Diggs. They hooked up
that is true.
Nico Collins. Tank Dell's going to be back. They brought in Joe Mixon. I think it's just a matter of, like, what Houston did, and Houston was like the big sexy team last year. Like, they went from worst to first.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are seeing. They're like, wow, CJ Stroud, whereas, like, Jordan Love's been in the league for a bit. This is his first year as a starter. So he kind of, like, under the radar, and, like, his weaponry isn't great. Like, no one's thriving to get Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Luke Musgrave.
But I think all 4 have a chance to be fantasy.
I agree. It's a matter of calling your shot, and that's why I want Jordan Love, because then I'm just getting everything from that offense.
Yeah, I agree. I would honestly be happy with any of the 4 receivers landing on my team. I'm cool with Watson. I think when he's on the field, he's going to shine. I hope to God he stays healthy.
I think he'll be the alpha. I'm banking on if I had to put my chips on one of the receivers, Christian Watson's the one I'm going for.
I would go Jordan Reed just based off of Jaden just based off of health. I think I can't trust Watson's health.
That's fair.
But personally, I'm taking Dontavius Wicks. I can get him in the last round.
So you're I'll just take the last guy.
I'm taking the last guy, and based off camp reports, he's like Jordan Love's like best friend. They love each other. He's gonna get the ball just based off of that, and he's an elite athlete, dude. Like, look at his college stuff.
I love Wicks coming out.
He just gets open. He's a little tanked out. His separation's elite, and Jordan Love knows how to drop dimes. So I'm in on Wicks, Justin.
You can get him last round in your leagues usually, so that's an easy, because if he doesn't have a big week one, you can just drop him. But I like Jordan Love this year. I end up thinking I move him up when I restat halfway through camp. But right now, QB 11, I'm fine sitting and waiting. Like I said, I punt the position usually, and I'm happy getting Love in that range. Next up,
there's a chance he moves up for sure.
Is Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. We're both lower on him. QB 9. For both of us. He's currently going as QB 7. I have him at 8. You have him at 10. He's going late 5th. Anthony Richardson played 4 games last year. He was 50 completions for 577 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. 25 carries for 136 yards and another 4 touchdowns. 19.6 points per game. He finished as QB 43. He's the projection guy. He's the guy every year. We have one guy who you're just trying to bolster up into the rankings, and this year it's Anthony Richardson. Because in those 4 games, he was a fantasy. He worked out really well for fantasy.
Yeah, for the most part, right? 21, 17, 29, and 4. He got hurt. So, 17 and 21 are fine. They're average. But then that one game, 29 is very good. He finished QB4, 19, and then QB2. He's so risky, dude. He's so risky. And I don't like him coming out. I really did not care for him. You loved him. You're complete opposites. And I think it's really going to start to show here. Because the more I constantly think about, I don't trust this guy throwing a ball compared to even like Jaden.
I mean, he's coming off a shoulder injury too.
So I can't trust him throwing. I can't trust him running because he's going to get hurt. Where can I trust him? I honestly think I'm 100% out on Anthony Richardson. I don't
that's a fair assessment too, because he's going 5th round, so like you're spending a decent
QB
pick
like
on
what,
him.
6?
7
QB 6, 7. That's crazy, dude. And in my eyes, that's insane. I couldn't trust it.
You're a wait and see. So if Richardson does go out and blows up this year, finishes as a top 3 quarterback, are you in next year?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably the right approach for Anthony Richardson. Wait and see. And if he does fall in your home league, take the shot then. Like if you get him where you could get Jordan Love in the 7th, like say Jordan Love goes a little earlier because Green Bay, like home more casual leagues are going to probably know Jordan Love more than Anthony Richardson. Yeah. And Jordan Love goes in the 5th and Anthony Richardson falls to the 7th round, then I'm very comfortable taking my shot on.
I agree to that. It's more so the guys that I can get after him, I would take before him, and I can get a handful of guys after him that I would take before him.
Anthony Richardson is one of those guys, like, I don't necessarily like drafting 2 quarterbacks. I know I said I would if I drafted, like, Jaden Daniels and I'd pair him with Jared Goff, or I would do the same thing with Richardson. If I'm drafting 2 quarterbacks, though, I want them later. I want them in the 9th, 10th round. I don't want to take a quarterback in the 5th and then have to take Jared Goff
Exactly. When you're taking a quarterback in the 5th, that's your quarterback. And for me to say Anthony Richardson's my quarterback, that's a lot of statement I'm not willing to bet on.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson, though, he's the biggest. He's got the highest ceiling and the lowest floor. His floor is he could be QB 43, but he could be QB 1. He's that talented.
He can run. I'll admit that.
Hey, it's just got to get the ball in the receiver's hand, and the receiver does the work. He gets the points.
Yeah, I don't trust his accuracy is the problem.
We'll see. The camp videos have been fun. Him doing the 360s into the end zone and then throwing left hand. It's kind of a worrisome because like his shoulder's still not. Yeah, like he can throw. Yeah, he can throw still, but he's only at like 80%, so he's still not fully healthy. So he's here. So it is scary. It is scary coming off of Anthony Richardson, his injury, and then just like his mechanics being all out of whack coming into the league. Like I understand your point. I do love the upside.
the guy can barely throw with his right shoulder, and now he's out here throwing with his left. Good God, dude. I don't trust that.
He can chuck the ball over them mountains, brother.
Yeah, too bad he's
Yeah.
going to throw it wide to left.
Let's go on. Number 8, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals.
Kerners, a guy I trust right here.
Yes. Last season, Murray played 8 games, 176 completions for 1,799 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Another 44 carries, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. QB 27, but he got 21.3 points per game. I have him at QB 9. You have him at QB 8. He's going as QB 9, late 7th. I know people are looking like, well, Kyler didn't run last year. Okay, yeah, dude's coming off a devastating knee injury. Now it's the year after.
He's healthy.
He's going to play all full games. They brought in Marvin Harrison. They drafted another running back with Trey Benson, so they're bringing in weapons. They drafted Paris Johnson the year before, so they're trying to shore up the offensive line. They got a young, hip play caller as the offensive coordinator. Kyler Murray is a great fantasy asset. I think you're getting him at a great value in the 7th round. I love it. Like, I love Trey McBride. I love Marvin Harrison. I want pieces of this Arizona offense. I think the Cardinals could be sneaky good this year. They play in a tough division, but like, I think for fantasy, they're going to be.
Fantasy-wise, they're going to be a lot of fun with Marv, Connor, Murray, Trey McBee.
They got a bad defense, so they're going to have to score points, and
I would say
that's what you want.
Their offense is going to be on the field a lot, and Kyler Murray runs a lot when healthy, and he's healthy. So I think we're going to be looking at like his 2021 season where he's QB 10-ish. I think he's going to be that's his floor. I think is QB 10.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a QB 1 for sure, and you're getting him in the 7th round. You said he averaged 21 points a game. That would average him out to be like QB 5 or 6 last year, something like that. We're in. Like, what are we doing here? So hell yeah.
Yeah,
Kyler
I like Murray. I like
fun.
the Cardinals offense. Yeah, Kyler Murray. Yeah, you like to throw the digs at Murray. Like, oh, I'd rather be playing Call of Duty. So like in October, you don't want Kyler Murray because Call of Duty's coming out. But the dude's really, he's a good football player. He's a great fantasy
How do you know
player.
when Call of Duty comes out?
It last year it came out in October. That's why I said it. Yeah. That's why I said Kyler Murray. Yeah. I don't know actually if Call of Duty has a game coming out this year.
But
I know. Oh, okay. Last year it was in October. Or the last one was in October. Are you looking it up?
Oh my God! October 24th, 2024.
He was right, baby.
Ops 6.
Let's go.
You son of a bitch.
Draft Kyler Murray. Draft Jaden Daniels in October. Let Jaden Daniels be your quarterback.
Find a guy that has a real good October.
Yeah, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins. That's Kirk's month. But
Kyler,
seriously though, Kyler Murray's a great fantasy asset. Like, he's a guy. He's one of those guys. Like, you want a mobile quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
In fantasy, because like it's not always reliable to be banking on a pocket passer, because like they could have bad games where they're just getting sacked a ton, whereas like a mobile quarterback could be having a bad passing game, but like they make up for their rushing ability. Like it breaks the system. So I'm in on Murray. I like the offense. You guys have heard me talk about Marv and Trey McBride and James Conner. I like him too. Could the Cardinals be the Dolphins? James Conner can never be on the Dolphins. He's too slow. But like the Dolphins, like it's just like run, just like speed and like big plays, all this fun stuff. Are the Cardinals like Dolphins West?
I think they would need another receiver. I don't think Michael Wilson's that kind of receiver.
Like,
he's more of like a.
But the Dolphins don't have a tight end, so like Trey McBride's in that range there.
I see what you're saying.
Like, could they be the fun hip offense this year?
I don't know about that.
Too much of a stretch.
Too much of a stretch.
I'm doing it. Dolphins West. The Cardinals. Dolphins West.
I don't know about that. We'll see about that. That's a hot take.
Oh.
That's a hot take.
Number 7, CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans, the rookie sensation at quarterback last year. 15 games, CJ Stroud had 319 completions for 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. 39 carries on the ground, 167 yards, and another 3 touchdowns. He finished as the QB 11, 22.3 points per game. He's going as QB 6, mid 4th. I have him 7. You have him 6. Mm-hmm. So he's tied with the next guy. My biggest gripe with Stroud is where he's going. I do not want to take CJ Stroud in the 4th round.
100%. It's all ADP problem. We were talking about this before. I think it was off the pod. That I think him and Jordan Love are going to be very similar. It might have been what we were talking about.
You brought that
Love.
up. Jordan.
Okay.
You brought it up.
But to get them rounds separated is crazy. It doesn't make sense. don't get me wrong, CJ Stroud's great. He's amazing. I would never say anything ill about CJ Stroud's playing performance. It's just that he's not an elite fantasy option yet. Could he be? Sure. He finished QB 11, and that's lower than Jordan Love. Jordan Love's QB 5, and now we're drafting them opposite. And I don't really.
It's the big off season. Like I said when we talked about Jordan Love, like Houston's bringing in all this stuff for CJ Stroud, and that's what people are banging. Plus, they were the hot team last year. Everybody was on board. Houston Texans, baby.
That's the thing. I'm not going to bank on a hot team. Houston's going to be fine. They're going to be good. They have Stroud. They have a great coaching staff, and the defense is good. But his ADP is too high. It's crazy to take him with some people. I've seen him go before Mahomes.
Yeah, Houston could also be in the situation where they're winning a lot of games, and like they don't need Stroud to do a ton of work. Like there could be games where CJ Stroud has 150 yards and 1 touchdown. Yeah,
and Joe Mixon has the ability to go out and put up 3 touchdowns in a game. We've seen it before. So if they just keep running and get early leads, their defense doesn't give up points. Suddenly they're up 14-0 in the fourth, and CJ Stroud has had a terrible game.
Yep.
But Houston won, so it doesn't matter.
Precisely. Yeah. And he's also he doesn't run a lot. Like he's not this big mobile running quarterback. Like he wants to sit in the pocket and throw the ball.
As
and you need those big outlier seasons from your pocket passers where they need 40 touchdowns. CJ Stroud could go out this year and pass for 40 touchdowns, but that's a tough thing to bank on. And that's my word with Stroud. Like we're drafting him above his ceiling in my eyes.
I agree. Like you're drafting him QB4. For him to finish QB4 would be, that's just asking too much of, and then you're going to look at it as he had a down year. It's just a risky game to look at with CJ Stroud, but his ADP kills me.
Jordan Love was QB4, and he had 32 touchdowns. CJ Stroud had 23. So he needed to increase his touchdowns by 10 just to like even start to creep into that range. Tied with CJ Stroud, I just gave him the bump because I had him higher. And he was also, it just appeared first alphabetically. Is Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. Last season, Burrow played 10 games, 244 completions, 2,309 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 31 carries on the ground for 88 yards. QB 25, 18.8 points per game. I have him 6, you have him 7. He's going at 8, mid-6th round. Burrow, you got to worry about the wrist, like this weird wrist injury where like no quarterback or any like thrower has ever had. It's like an offensive lineman injury. So like, who knows what's going on there? But like Burrow, like Stroud, we brought up, like you need to have like an outlier season as a pocket passer. Joe Burrow's done that. And like last season, you could tell Burrow was banged up because like he was not moving. Like his hamstring was fucked. And when he started getting healthy, you saw like Joe Burrow was all right. Joe Burrow started to pay off on the investment, and then he fucked up his wrist.
Yeah,
like it was a bad year for Joe Burrow. I trust the wrist getting healthy, which is why I have him at 6, and I'm content taking him in the middle of the 6th round at QB 8. I think Joe Burrow is a guy who he could have like a QB1, like the QB1 season or a top 3 season. Like he's got that upside. He's one of those outlier pocket passers that does that. Like high-powered offense, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton. They brought in Mike Gesicki, whatever. And like there's a chance the run game fails in Cincinnati. Like Zach Moss might be Zach Moss and Chase Brown might not hit. And it's going to be a lot of Joe Burrow. And Zach Taylor's going to have to not be a coward and just let this dude cook. And I think they will.
Yeah, if you trust that he's healthy, when healthy, finish QB4 and then QB7. And so those are both above where he's going. He's going QB. So you're drafting him below his 4. Again, that's something we look for. And so as long as he stays healthy, he's going to beat his ADP. And that's what you're looking for. So I'm banking on Burrow being healthy. I'm not going to bank on injuries. And I trust the offense. I trust them. I don't think T. Higgins is going to have a huge role as everyone. I'm looking at it more as the standpoint that they know he's gone after the year. So they're going to really get Jermaine Burton into this offense to see how he works out with Chase, because those two are the receivers going forward. T. Higgins is gone after the year. It's pretty much set in stone. He's there as a rental player this year, and then he's going to go get his money elsewhere. I think they're going to use him, but I think Jermaine Burton is going to severely cut into him. And I like all 3 guys being fantasy relevant with Burrow at quarterback.
Yeah, I'm in on the Cincinnati passing game. I want pieces in it. I think Burrow's going to blow up this year. I really do. Next up, Dak Prescott, QB5. He finished as QB5, or he finished as QB2 last year. Sorry. We both have him at QB5. He's going as the quarterback 8 early 17 games, 410 completions, 4,516 yards, 36 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, add another 2 touchdowns on the ground with 242 yards, 25.3 points per game. Do people hate Dak Prescott in fantasy because he's a Dallas Cowboy? Is that the problem here? Because
no, people hate Dak Prescott in general because he's a Dallas Cowboy. Not just fantasy, real life. Real life, he's a terrible quarterback. Fantasy, he's a terrible quarterback.
Is Dak Prescott the most underrated quarterback in football?
He's probably, dude.
Because
Dak's good, dude.
I'm looking at these numbers and I'm like, I want that.
No, that's
and in
great.
The 7th round, those
that's
numbers.
Great.
If Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were putting up these numbers, we're just be like, yeah, those are great. Best quarterback in the league. But Dak Prescott's putting up these numbers. We're like, it's Dak Prescott.
I think the last, it's either 40 or 50 games, something like that. Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes have identical stats.
Yeah,
straight through identical stats. Sure.
Last year, Dak led the league in interceptions.
He doesn't win in the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's not fantasy football.
That doesn't affect me. I'm not. Yeah, for me as a Giants fan, I don't give a fuck that they don't win in the playoffs.
If your home leagues are letting Dak Prescott fall into your laps, that's the guy. And if you can get CeeDee Lamb with him, you got the stack of the century, the Dak CD stack. Whew, baby. But don't let Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott played for any other team, we'd be talking about him in the top 2.
Yeah, Dak's up there with the elite 3 quarterbacks in fantasy football being Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. I have Dak 4. He's right there with those guys in my eyes. I would be fine taking Dak with those guys. Oh, Jalen Hurts. I forgot Jalen Hurts as well, which is funny.
But Dak should be in this group. We should be comfortable with Dak in this group, but for whatever reason, it's a Dallas Cowboy or just this stigma of Dak Prescott. Put respect on this man's name. He's a top 5 quarterback. Let him fall to you and be very happy with it.
Yeah, he's a good real-life quarterback. He gets the job done. He struggles in the playoffs. It is what it is. I think that's more coaching. Me personally, I'm not going to get into it. Dak's a great quarterback in fantasy as well. You said he had 200 some rushing yards. That's gets you a little bit of points here in area 2 rushing touchdowns. I love Dak, dude. I'm all in for Dak always.
And Dallas is going to have to pass the ball again. There's no way you can tell me that Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle are going to be incredibly efficient at the running back position, that Dallas is going to cut back on passing the ball. There's no way those 2 guys are going to be better than what Tony Pollard was last year, and Tony Pollard was insufficient. Dak Prescott should be going as a top 3 quarterback, and I'm content taking him where he's going. I want it.
Yeah, his ADP, I'm fine with it. It is what it is. He's going to be in with those guys that I mentioned earlier. And you don't even have to bat an eye about it. Like you said, they have to pass. You can sit here and trust Zeke, but he's not going to be as efficient as Tony Pollard last year. I don't really care for Rico. I like Zeke more. You like Rico. But at the end of the day, they're not Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was going as a 2nd-round pick last year. Zeke's going where, in the 9th? Okay. Guess what? Dallas is passing the fuck out of that ball.
Yeah. There's a chance Dak Prescott has better numbers than he did last year. And he was 36 touchdowns for 9 interceptions.
Yeah, for sure.
Let him fall to you in your home leagues. Take him.
Yep.
Don't be a hater just because he's a Cowboy. Exactly. Next up, Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP, number 4, Baltimore Ravens. He's going as the QB4. We both have him as the QB4, early to mid 4th. Played 16 games, 307 completions, 3,678 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Another 821 yards on the ground with 5 touchdowns. He finished as the QB5, 24.8 points per game. Lamar Jackson's one of those cheat codes in fantasy, because he just gets a ton of rushing yards, and that's not going to go away even with Derrick Henry there. Lamar Jackson's still going to get his share. He's probably not going to have 5 touchdowns is probably his rushing ceiling now with Henry there, but
probably
he's always efficient with the ball. He's not a guy who throws a ton of interceptions. And sure, his touchdown 24, that might go up. Mark Andrews should be healthy this year, so that could creep towards 30. Lamar Jackson's a super safe guy. I know drafting a running quarterback who runs a lot and who takes hits, Lamar's super smart. He knows when to go down. He goes out of bounds. He's not throwing his body. He got leaner this year, so he's looking more like he did when he won his first MVP. The dude's money, Lamar Jackson is a guy you want to target in fantasy. I'm okay taking him in the 4th round. I usually try to not take quarterbacks early, but Lamar Jackson is one of those guys who he could have 1,000 yards rushing and almost 4,000 yards passing and break fantasy football.
Yeah, these next 4 guys, I would lock in any pick. Not any pick, obviously, but I'm fine with either of the 4.
Where they're going.
Yeah, where they're going. I'm fine with it. Lamar's super safe. You just have to worry about him missing a few games here and there. And just fucking play the waiver wire. Don't worry about it. Lamar's Lamar. His ceiling is 1, his floor 6-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's so safe. I love Lamar. Baltimore is Baltimore. It's almost the Mark Andrews effect. It's
Picking
safe.
a person on the Baltimore Ravens is boring. Like, you don't like, I got a Baltimore Raven on my team, but like you're going to be fine. Lamar Jackson's a great fantasy quarterback, great real life quarterback. He's a reigning MVP, 2-time MVP, probable future Hall of Famer.
Definitely two-time MVP, Hall of Famer. It's almost like Baltimore has, like, we're talking about, like, oh, he's just a good real life football player, or oh, he's just a fantasy. Baltimore guys are just good at both. They're good real life football players. They're good fantasy players, except Zay Flowers is kind of the outlier on that, but he's still at the end of the day a decent fantasy option.
Yeah.
But like Henry, Lamar, Andrews, they're all just locks regardless. Go get them. Go grab them.
Number 3, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. He finished as QB 8 last year, 22.4 points per game. He's currently going as a quarterback 3, late 3rd, early 4th. We both have him at 2. He 16 games, 401 completions, 4,183 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Had another 389 yards on the ground, no touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes might be the safest guy in football. Like, again, like if you've had him last year, you're probably a little peeved that he finishes QB 8, but so be it. He was still a QB 1. Like, and now there's talks at Kansas City. We brought up with Kelsey. They want to open up the playbook, and that just makes Patrick Mahomes more dangerous if he's just chucking it down the field.
Oh yeah,
we've seen him put up QB 1 seasons doing that. So, and this is probably the best you're ever going to get on Patrick Mahomes in terms of a discount. Late 3rd, early 4th. That's where like CJ Stroud's going, and I'd rather put my eggs in Patrick Mahomes' basket than CJ Stroud's.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, I think is kind of like an outlier at 8. His usually QB 1 to 4 is where he falls, except the one season he missed a couple games and he finished QB 7. So as long as he's playing these QB 1 through 4, I'm happy with that. Some drafts you're able to get him for. Like I said, I've seen Stroud go over him, and if you get Mahomes 4, that you're drafting him at his legitimate floor, that's so hard to do with Mahomes. You can't draft him at his floor. And yet here we're drafting him at his floor. Like he's usually a guy that you have to draft at 1 or 2, which is his ceiling. So it is what it is. I love Mahomes at his ADP.
And in like home leagues, there might be like Chiefs fatigue. Like home leagues, like a lot of players are like just based off like they're tired of the Chiefs. They're winning. So like people might not like, I don't want Patrick Mahomes. Like I'm tired of Kansas City. I want nothing to do with that team. They're blah. And then Mahomes falls to you in the 5th round in some crazy scenario. And you're just like, wow, I got Patrick Mahomes. Like smart drafters are going to, take Mahomes. They're going to let him fall into their laps. They're going to know your league also. Know who's in your league, their tendencies. Study. It's just like a test. Study them, see what they do. Like, there's going to be guys who either highly value Patrick Mahomes and take him too early, but I don't know if that happens this year because of how bad, air quote, he was last year. And there's also the fatigue of the Chiefs just being really good and people just hating them all of a sudden.
Yeah, you love to see that one. People are like, oh, I'm not drafting him because I'm not tired of him. That doesn't even make sense.
Our next 2 guys, I didn't rank them 1 or 2. I just put 1A, 1B because they're both out. One's your quarterback 1, and your quarterback 1's my quarterback 3. My quarterback 1 is your quarterback 3. My quarterback 1 is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Last season, 17 games, 385 yards, 4,306 through the air, 29 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Had another 111 carries for 524 yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. He finished as the QB1, 27.9 points per game. Your QB1, Jalen Hurts. He's going as the quarterback 2. Josh Allen is going as the quarterback 1. Hurts, all 17 games, 352 completions, 3,858 yards, 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He had another 605 on the ground, 15 touchdowns. Finished as QB3, tied with Dak Prescott in points per game at 25.3. Like their point differential and 6 touchdowns was like 1/10 of a. So similar guys. They're going to get the job done on the ground, and they're not going to put up the biggest air numbers. Jalen Hurts never broke 4,000 yards. I think he might get that this year.
I would be willing to say he does.
His rushing touchdowns, I do think, go down, which is why I have him lower. I think Barkley's going to eat more into his touchdown total than Josh Allen's going to have to worry about in Buffalo, someone eating in it.
I agree to that. I think Barkley does eat into that, but I also think the lack of weapons eats into Allen's passing game to where his passing game now falls, where Hurts, I think, goes up a little bit. I think they kind of like fluctuate where Hurts' passing goes up, Allen's goes down, but Allen's rushing stays the same and Hurts's kind of goes down. So they're kind of just all fluctuating based off Barkley coming in, Allen losing weapons. If you would switch these guys, I would have them first. I would have, if Allen was in Philly, I would have him as my one. It's
So
more just what's around them is what.
My thing with Josh, I trust Josh Allen enough to the point where I don't think he needs weapons. I think he's good enough to make the guys around him better. I think he's at that stage. I don't know if Hurts is at that stage, which is why he needs AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. And that's why I'm banking on Josh. I think Josh Allen makes Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, 2 to 3 of those guys become fantasy relevant because of Josh Allen. I think he's that good at this point where he doesn't need the elite receiver. Like I think he did at first. And like you saw when Diggs came in, Allen boomed. I think Josh Allen's now at the point where like he can do without the big weapon and he makes the guys around him way better.
See, I don't think they're going to make him. Like, there's a chance they don't even have a 1,000-yard option on that team. Like there's a chance Kincaid doesn't get 1,000 yards and they're just looking at Kincaid at 900 yards and then 3 guys at 700 yards. That's not going to feel to QB1.
Could James Cook get 1,000 yards receiving? Like could like we like Buffalo we've brought up that they have all these vacated targets. Could a lot of this go to James Cook where he's a 1,000-yard guy on the ground, 1,000-yard guy through the air in like a low-key Christian McCaffrey role? Like I think we're kind of sleeping on James Cook because he doesn't score touchdowns. But like here's a guy who could have 80 catches. He could be the guy who benefits from the lack of weapons the most. And we're just kind of not talking about him.
I do see him having a very similar year to like Alvin Kamara. I don't think it's going to be 1,000, but I think it's going to be a little over 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's a better rusher than Kamara, so it's going to be a little over 1,000. And then through the air, it's going to be like 700-ish. So he's going to be pushing 2,000 all-purpose yards. Not quite there, but 1,800 all-purpose yards. And that's great fantasy value. It's just that like the whole Hurts thing, like I really trust Brown. I really trust Smith. I trust Barkley. Both of those guys are going to have 1,000 yards. Barkley's going to get his. Goddard's going to get whatever the fuck Goddard gets. It is what it is.
New system, too. Kellen Moore's coming in. They got to shore up this thing. And, like, Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat. So Philadelphia has to figure this out.
But and you brought up Kellen Moore, who used to be Dak's offensive coordinator, and Dak shined. Dak really chucked the ball. I just really see Philly. I'm all in on Philly this year. Philly's offense. I'll tie my wagon to Philly and just ride it the whole way.
Yeah. My fear is that Jalen Hurts isn't a great regular quarterback, like a real quarterback. Like my fear is like he doesn't throw the ball a ton and then they struggle because he has to throw the ball.
See, I think he's a legit quarterback. I see that, and that's
I think he'll be fine. But like that fear's there where this guy's just like a 60% completion percentage guy, and like it just doesn't work. To like he ends up being the thing that holds the Philadelphia offense from taking the next step to being the Super Bowl winners. Whereas like if a guy like Josh Allen or Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes are in Philadelphia, they're the best team.
Yeah, I put Hurts in the same boat with Allen, as they're fine passers. They're just not Mahomes. But I have Allen and Hurts as pretty identical.
Jalen Hurts never 4,000 yards in a season. Josh Allen's done it the last 4 years.
That's fine. That's
never more than 25 touchdowns in a season.
Okay. What are their completion percentages?
That I don't have in front of me.
Because it's going to be very similar. That's the problem.
I like Hurts. I just don't trust Hurts as much as I trust Josh Allen. Hurts 65-4, 66-5, 61-3. I'm not going to do the game that season. 52.
Okay, so 66, 65-ish.
Yeah. Career percentage of 63. God damn, there's 2 Josh Allens.
The linebacker, 0% completion percentage.
Josh Allen 66-5, 63-3, 63-3, 69.
So pretty close.
Similar.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So if you gave Hurts the passing opportunities that Allen has, they're going to be very similar.
We'll see. I don't see Jalen Hurts as a 4,535 touchdown guy. I do with Josh.
I don't see it with the weapons of Buffalo. I don't think he's going to have 4,500 yards. I barely see him at 4,000 yards.
He's only had 4,500 yards once, but like I think that's his like ceiling. But I think he gets 4,000 yards regardless of who he's throwing.
It's going to be pretty close. He's going to be pushing it this year.
We'll see. The touchdowns do worry me. I don't know if Buffalo's offense will produce a ton of passing touchdowns. So that Josh Allen had 29 last year. I think that could go down, but like 15, like I want to say he could get more rushing touchdowns, but 15 is such a high number to begin with. Like you don't want to rely on
I think
those,
Cook.
but like,
I think Cook goes up in rushing touchdowns, so I have to take it from Allen.
but I think Allen loses less rushing touchdowns than Jalen Hurts does. Because I think Barkley is a potential 10 touchdown running back. James Cook is not.
I agree, but I think Hurts's passing numbers go up considerably with that offensive coordinator and him still having two elite options to where Allen has no elite option.
I mean, either way, both guys are great. Like, they're both top 5 quarter. Like, the chances either of these guys finish outside the top 5 at quarterback is minimal.
I don't think that happens. Yeah. I think we're looking at quarterback 1 and 2 this year, and that's obviously bearing injury. But I think both these guys are for sure locked in at quarterback 1, 2. Their 4 is 3. One of them could fall to 3.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be much worse than that.
I just see Josh Allen more as a safer option, whereas you see Jalen Hurts more as the safer option. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
you,
for sure.
You trust the offense more around Jalen Hurts than Josh Allen. Whereas, like, I think
100%.
Josh Allen is offense proof, and he's going to be the best no matter what's around him.
I don't see it like that. I put him in the same boat with Hurts, that they need weapons around, coaching.
Yeah, we'll see this year, because Josh Allen, the weapons aren't there. So we'll see if Jalen Hurts takes the step up with a offensive driven coordinator in Kellen Moore.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
So there's definitely more risk in these two than there has been in previous years.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas Patrick Mahomes could end up just being QB1 because he's Patrick Mahomes, and these two have questions. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
We go. That's it. Quarterback rankings, tight end rankings done. We did our receivers, running backs. Next episode, finally doing it. Mock draft, baby.
Whoa,
so we'll do
mock.
We'll try to get somebody on, maybe. If not, it'll just be Nick and I, and we'll figure out draft position from there. Thank you guys for listening. Another long episode. I know these are kind of draining. Follow us over on Twitter at @DraftedUp_pod. Rate, like, subscribe, review over on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen or watch. Thank you guys as always. And again, remember, draft it up. That's what we're doing next week, baby. Mock draft. That's it for our rankings.
Yeah.
After the mock draft, we're going to dive into divisional stuff where we're going to give our predictions, and then we'll kind of more deep dive into like individual players where we see fantasy relevance on teams here and there.
Yes.
So you get to hear us talk more in depth on guys instead of just being like, yeah, this guy, like minor stuff like we did in our rankings.
Yeah. Oh, I have him ranked here and this guy ranked there. Well, no, we'll go into like players, why we have them there, what we're looking for, and all the good stuff.
All right, guys. Appreciate it as always. Peace and love, y'all.
Adios. Bye.